members of the clergy, Senate President Donistor, honorable senators, Lieutenant Governor Francis, members of the judiciary, members of the cabinet, and other agency heads, Mrs. Francis, my wife Cecile, other distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, my fellow Virgin Islanders. I stand here tonight during a great period and moment in our history. Last week, we all heard the words of our new president as he spoke to us of the challenges we face and of our shared hopes and aspirations for our country's future. He did not mince words about the difficult times that lie ahead and has already demonstrated through his actions and his steadfast of purpose how working together as a nation, we shall pull through these difficult times and achieve an ever greater future for our children. As I stand before you tonight, I must report that the state of our territory, like the state of our nation, and much like our world, matches the state of our nation's new leader. For all of us, the people of the Virgin Islands, share deep concern for our immediate future, marked at the same time by a greater determination to take any and all reasonable actions to alleviate the suffering of our people. As our president said, and as we will all appreciate, it is time to put cynicism aside, for we truly have no other excuses. We must put aside the stale arguments that have divided us and consumed us for so long. We must act as a nation, as a territory, as communities united in a common purpose, moving forward together. Tonight, I address not just the 28th legislature, but each and every resident of these Virgin Islands. For as we all recognize that the state of our territory is one of concern, we all know that we must move forward together if we are to overcome all obstacles. We must be bound in the determination to work together. We must act reasonably, we must act thoughtfully, and most importantly, we must act promptly. But first, let us begin tonight by sharing our collective joy on what was a truly historic moment. What greater pride could we all have felt and imagined that when we saw the nation was transfixed when President Barack Hussein Obama took the oath of office. That day will be marked the beginning of the next chapter in the American story, a story that has been told and will tell of the progress we are committed to achieving as we make ourselves a more perfect union. That our nation's leader is an African American, influenced by many diverse cultures, sworn into office one day after the holiday celebrating the birthday of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., and 40 years after Senator Robert F. Kennedy made his principal prediction that one day the highest office of this land would be held by an African American, and that Barack Obama accepted the nomination of the Democratic Party on the anniversary of the day that Dr. King spoke the words, "I have a dream" at the Lincoln Memorial, affirms for me, as I'm sure it does for others, the divine power that truly guides our daily actions. And I'm further proud to state that one part of the Virgin Islands story, a part that always needs to be remembered, is that we have, beginning long before we even became a part of the American family, always fought to establish the right and reality that all men and women are created equal, must be treated equally, and must be provided an opportunity to achieve their individual potential. Tonight it is also my duty, a duty tinged with sorrow, to ask that we pay our respects to those who have sacrificed on our behalf. This year we brought home for burial one of our own from service in defense of our freedom. I would ask that we observe a moment of silence and reflection as we remember Staff Sergeant Errol James, who died in Afghanistan, and all those others who died in service to our country. And while we remember as well retired Police Sergeant Liston Gumbs, whose heroic action led to his untimely death. Thank you. We come together here tonight at a time of grave uncertainty and stress. 1 year ago, I stood before you and suggested that the U.S. economy was on the verge of a recession. Today, no one any longer has doubts that an economic crisis is upon us and that we are now in the midst of a recession whose hurricane strength force and effect are yet to be fully revealed, its course not yet trackable. For us, the hurricane metaphor that is thrown around in the national media for the economic distress that faces the nation is more than a metaphor. We understand hurricanes. As this economic storm worsens, we must remember all that we have learned about enduring hardship and remember the lessons passed on from our parents and grandparents. Prepare for the worst, hope for the best, reach out a hand to those that are worse off than you, remain strong and resolute. Our strength resides in our homes, in our families, in our communities, and in our faith. And however severe the storm, this too shall pass. Even as this past year has been one of recession, we are only beginning to feel the worst of the economic downturn. This month, we have 3,000 individuals receiving unemployment benefits. Layoffs in the private sector are increasing. Businesses are closing, and unemployment has only just begun to rise. We can each see this in our families and our members of our families that are laid off or their work hours are cut back. And the effect on our revenues are just beginning to become apparent. We know this as tourism numbers have fallen severely, real estate activity has slowed, construction has been delayed, and private sector investment has been pulled back. Already, hotel occupancy has declined by 1/3, and the average hotel rates have gone down by 25%. Our retailers are indicating that business is down more than 35%. Cruise ship passenger spending has been curtailed. The ships may still come, but carrying passengers who themselves, like the rest of us, are living in economically tough times and will be spending less because they have less to spend. But even these numbers are only the beginning of a broader downturn, as traditionally, recessions in the United States take time to translate into declines in our tourism economy. And tourism takes time to recover once the recession has run its course. Over the next year or more, we are likely to see unemployment rise towards double digits, and economic recovery will not begin for another year. This economic downturn has just begun to affect government revenues, and we must all prepare for a period of significant belt tightening. We have already adjusted our fiscal year 2009 and 2010 revenue projections downward, and fully anticipate real declines in personal and corporate income taxes, as well as gross receipts taxes. 9 months ago, I instituted a hiring freeze that has reduced personnel costs for the year in anticipation of the revenue shortfalls that we are now experiencing. But this is just a first step, and the continuing decline in our revenues will translate into further reductions in spending and ultimately in services. This we all recognize, and I commend the 28th Legislature for its recent action in approving the realigned operating budget. The people of the territory should recognize and applaud you for meeting on this matter on the very first day after your swearing in. This spirit of cooperation, of working together in common purpose, will be essential in the weeks and months ahead as the recession deepens and as we make very painful choices. But let us all be clear, the challenges we face are severe. This fiscal year, we may well see a shortfall in our tax revenues of as much as $146 million, which would be 17% decline from budgeted levels. If the downturn worsens, and if we are not successful in accelerating collection of real property taxes. And already, over the past 12 months, our general fund cash balances are down by almost $90 million, or 38%. This is a real and tangible indication of the impact that the recession has already had on our financial position, of the loss of financial strength, of choices that we're already suffering.